pretty much unheard of. Not only that, but most of its IVs were in categories that it really needed, like special attack, HP, and speed. I've never really used a Porygon before though, and I wasn't sure if they're good, so if you guys could let me know in the comments to this video if Porygons are good and I should use it, let me know, and maybe I will. But anyway guys, it was time for the moment you've all been waiting for. It was time to catch a Mew. Now in the previous 100 days, I actually did find a jungle and I made it a home. So when I type in /home jungle, it actually takes me straight to a jungle, which is exactly where Mew spawns. I p-wikied Mew again to see what time of the day it spawns, and it only spawns during the day. So there was really no point for me to be here during the night. However, I haven't been in a jungle yet this entire series, so I figured I would have a look around. There were Joltics, there were Mankeys, there were Venipedes. There was a whole bunch of unique Pokemon that spawn here, but I was only after one. One thing that I was worried about though was even if a Mew does spawn, I wasn't even sure if I'd be able to find it because Mews are really tiny Pokemon, and this jungle is full of trees and vines and bushes and a lot of things that make it really challenging to find specific Pokemon. After days and days and days of literally just sitting in the jungle, I realized that a vote party was about to happen. And when vote parties happen, there's a legendary that spawns at spawn. So I went to spawn to go look for a legendary, but I had no clue where to look, to be honest. And normally these legendary Pokemon get snatched up really quickly. After a little while of searching, I realized that still nobody actually found any legendary Pokemon. And to my surprise, I found a Mew. This was absolutely insane and probably the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me ever playing Pokemon. After I found the Mew, the first thing I did was try to get my Raichu out. I had to go really quick though, this way no one else in the server would find it before me. I was panicking. I managed to find my Moltres as well, which I replaced for a Dugong. And then it was time. I engaged the Mew in a battle. The first thing I did was Thunder Wave the Mew. That was most important, that the Mew would be paralyzed. I really didn't want to kill it, so what I decided to do was just throw an Ultra Ball. I know it was really unlikely that a level 59 Raichu would kill it in one hit, but one of my only moves was Thunder, and if I got a crit, I was worried that might have killed it. And then I realized I didn't really have any other Pokemon that would do too well against it. And then somehow, some way, on my very next Ultra Ball attempt, I caught the Mew, even though it almost had full HP. That was so lucky. Everyone in chat was spamming F because the IVs on it were not good. They were only 62%, but it did have perfect special attack and perfect HP, so I'm not complaining. But this was so amazing. This was so important for the future of these 100 days. But honestly, this was probably the best thing that could have happened. And now my Pokedex was complete, except for one single slot. The Mewtwo. Before I decided to try to take on the Mewtwo, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to take my mind off things because I felt like I was rushing. And so what I decided to do was gather a team that would be good against the ground gym, which is the second gym. Finally, after waiting a little while, my challenge was accepted. And so I brought my team of Swampert, Dragonite, Porygon, Articuno, Dugong, and Cloyster. Obviously, I did bring a lot of ice-type Pokemon for this one, since ice is super effective against, I think, all of them, except for Swampert. So he doesn't hit Powdon. I'm gonna go for an Icy Wind. It's really not the best move, but it is super effective, so it should do a decent amount. Unfortunately, my Icy Wind does not do as much as I was hoping it would, but luckily my Dugong did end up killing his Hippowdon. However, my Dugong was very weak and poisoned, so this was not good at all. He then went to a Gliscor, which is ice is ×4 effective against it, so obviously I went straight into another ice Pokemon. I decided to go with Articuno because I knew Gliscor was better at physical defense than special attack, and I knew Articuno had Ice Beam. So I went for an Ice Beam, and I one-shot it. Honestly, I'm not sure why he didn't switch out, but I will take it. I'm not complaining whatsoever. And then he switched into Seismitoad, and to be honest, I didn't really know what to do at this point, so I just went to Porygon because I didn't know what else to do. I wanted to save my Articuno for later on in the battle because I think that he's going to be important, and he's not really going to be able to do much against the Seismitoad. So I switched into Porygon and decided to just use Psybeam, but unfortunately, it really didn't do much against his very, very strong Seismitoad. I didn't really know how good Porygon was going to be, and he ended up dying pretty easily without doing too much damage to Seismitoad, but that's okay. I didn't really expect much. And so the next thing I did was I went to Swampbutt and decided to do an Earthquake. I wasn't really sure how much it was going to do, but ended up actually doing a decent amount. And I know that Seismitoad is a very tanky Pokemon, so I knew it wasn't going to do like a crazy amount. But very unluckily for me, I got frozen, which is probably like the most unlucky thing possible. It's probably the worst status effect that you can get, but I did thaw out of the freeze in 2 turns, so it wasn't really the worst thing ever. He then switched into Excadrill, who I thought was going to go before me, and did because he used Rapid Spin, but it didn't kill me. And then I just used Earthquake and killed it in 1 shot, so that was pretty lucky of me. And then I just kept riding out Swampbutt to see what else he could do, but unfortunately, Nidoking did kill me. It went first, which I didn't realize that Nidoking was actually fast, but apparently he is. Then I was torn between going to Articuno or Cloyster. I thought Nidoking might have a Rock type move, so I decided to go to Cloyster because Rock is super effective against the Articuno. So I went for an Icicle Crash, and it did a ton of damage, a lot more than I was really expecting. And it went really well. So my Cloyster took out his Nidoking, and at this point in the battle, I was kind of lost. I didn't know how many more Pokemon he had left, but then he sent out his Swampbutt, and then it was down to what I thought was a 2v1. So I went to Dragonite, and I used Outrage, which is his best move, and it did a ton of damage. And then I used Outrage again because it takes 2 to 3 turns, and boom, his Swampert was dead, and that was the end of the battle. From beating the gym, I got myself $10,000 and 5 rare candies along with the Quake badge. After beating the gym, the next thing that I wanted to do was start construction of my new base. I started by grabbing all of the stone out of my furnace and turning almost all of it into stone brick. Then I made a bunch into slabs because that was a really good way to conserve a lot of the stone bricks, and you could also combine slabs in order to make chiseled stone bricks. A lot of people don't really know that, but chiseled stone brick is one of the coolest building blocks in my opinion. The first thing I did was work on the outline of my new house. Now, I've said this before, in my first 100 days, I do not pride myself on building, so if this house comes out horribly, I apologize in advance because I'm not a good builder. I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted, but I started with a nice little checkered pattern as you enter the house. After getting a lot of the flooring done, I realized that I really wanted to build out of spruce instead of oak, so I decided to venture out and try to find some spruce trees. And as I was grabbing a ton of wood for my house, I saw that a wild Stakataka actually spawned in the Extreme Hills biome. And so I ventured out looking for an Extreme Hills, and it turns out I was right next to one, and I started to get my hopes up a little bit. So I started flying on my Dragonite to search for this Stakataka. As I was searching, I found a Dino, which is actually pretty good, and a Dredagon as well, but unfortunately, I did not find any Stakataka. Turns out the whole time I was mining for what I thought was spruce, I mined for dark oak, but I decided to use this anyway because I never really used dark oak, and I thought it would still look pretty cool. And after hours and hours and hours and hours of working on this house, it was finally time to show you guys. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, voila. Here is my brand new house. Now, I know it's not anything too crazy. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it took me freaking forever. You have to realize I'm really not a great builder, and so for me to do this took a lot longer than it would most other people. As I was building it, I didn't really know what I was going for. I was kind of just building, and whatever happened, happened. And so that's why there's kind of some really weird things here and there, because I didn't really know, I didn't have a game plan at all. Also, there were people watching me basically the entire time, and they're now in my basement. Oh yeah, I made a basement. It's not much of a basement, and it's something that I need to work on at some point. But I've been working on this for hours and hours and hours, and I'm just ready to be done. I'm ready to be done. Now, I know it's not much, but like I said, I really tried my best, and this is what we ended up with. I had a lot of symmetrical issues when I was building this thing. I had to tear down a lot of things and build them back up as I was going, but this is like the best that I could do. Again, I know it's not the greatest house ever, but I'd certainly think it's a massive upgrade from what we had, so I'm pretty happy with it. But anyway, now that I was finally somewhat satisfied with my new house, it was time to go for Mewtwo. As I was about to start my adventure to go and get a cloning machine, I ran into Gleam. Not quite Dream. I guess this is Dream's cousin. Hello, Dream's cousin. But anyway, in order to get a cloning machine, you have to get a ton of obsidian and a ton of diamonds. Someone actually gave me these 14 diamonds, so I decided to put them away and get all of my diamonds legit. Before I went out, I asked some friends if they had some lapis so I could enchant. I swear I've mined lapis before, but I just couldn't find it in my chests. So in order to get a cloning machine, you actually have to get 2 fossil machines and convert them into cloning machines. And in order to get fossil machines, you basically just have to have a lot of bauxite, redstone, obsidian, which I pretty much already had. But in order to convert them into cloning machines, that is when you had to have a ton of obsidian, aluminum plates, emeralds, gold, and a couple of other things. But kind of similarly to how beacons work, you actually have to add blocks to the cloning machines in order to get a better chance of spawning Mewtwo. So, for example, you could add iron blocks to the cloning machine, but that only gives you like a 5% chance of Mewtwo spawning. But if you get 3 diamond blocks, that ups the chances up to 37.5%. Now, obviously the Pokemon that we are going to clone is Mew. That is the only Pokemon that you can clone in order to hopefully get Mewtwo. Now, it is really risky trying to do this because if you do get a Mewtwo, the entire cloning machine breaks. So you only have 1 chance at catching the Mewtwo. And if you don't get a Mewtwo, then you get a Ditto, which is still pretty cool. And the cloning machine doesn't break, which is nice, but you can only get Ditto 3 times before you can no longer use that Mew that you were using to clone. So you basically have to get Mewtwo within your first 3 tries, or else you have to catch a whole other Mew to clone, which is why I'm making sure that I get a ton of diamonds so that my chances are the highest they can possibly be. I've gotten really unlucky with finding diamonds, and I finally found my first batch. I got 6 from my first pocket, and I still had a lot more to go. I found a huge cave, and I found even more diamonds in it, but this time I decided to use my Silk Touch pickaxe in case I got fortune later down the line. I saw what I thought were diamonds, but it was just crystals. Again, I thought I saw more diamonds, but again, it was just crystals. I hate crystals. Again, I found what I thought were diamonds, but it was just crystals. I'm just kidding. I knew they were diamonds. I was just trying to trigger some people. Now we had 7 diamond ore and 6 diamonds. Then I found again more crystals, which I thought were diamonds, but they weren't. Ah, just kidding again. I know they're diamonds. So again, I used my Silk Touch pick to pick these guys up. I found even more diamonds that were hiding under redstone blocks, or redstone ores. And finally, I found my last batch of diamonds that I needed to make all 3 diamond blocks. Again, I decided to mine them up with my Silk Touch pickaxe in case I got fortune. After messaging with Emilio a little bit, he told me that he had a Fortune 3 book that he was willing to sell for 1K. I TP'd to Slippy so that I could use his anvil to combine my Diamond Efficiency 3 Unbreaking 3 pickaxe with the Fortune 3 book. And there we go. I now have a diamond pickaxe named Glizzy Goblin that is really solid. And so I went back to my home, placed all of the diamond ore that I had just found, and I mined it up with the Glizzy Goblin. Comment down below how many diamonds you think I would get from 24 diamond ore. If you get 62 diamonds, you would be correct. We already had 6 in our inventory, so we really got 62. That is an insane amount of diamonds. So the next thing I did was gather all the materials I needed in order to craft 2 fossil machines and convert them into 2 cloning machines. Crafting a fossil machine actually takes a bunch of different parts. So the first one I crafted was the fossil machine top, and then I crafted the display, then the tank, and lastly, the fossil machine base. Then after you combine all of these together, you get yourself a fossil machine. I did this process twice, and now I had 2 fossil machines. The next thing I crafted was the item that combines the 2 together, which is the cloner cord. And the last thing I had to do was convert both of the fossil machines into cloning machines. Except there were 2 different cloning machines I needed. The first one required gold and was called the orange tank and made the green tank. The next thing I did was make a bunch of diamond blocks, which is why I mined all the diamonds in the first place. It was time to combine the green tank with the orange tank to create the cloning machine. My heart was racing. After days and days and days and days and days of trying to get myself a Mewtwo, the time was finally here. I decided to put the cloning machine right inside my house. And there were the words, "Insert Mew." My heart was racing. I searched my PC so I could go find Mew. And there he is, level 50. I right-clicked the machine, Mew was inside. Then I put 3 blocks of diamonds inside the orange tank. 1, 2, and 3. And I waited as the machine processed. It would only take a couple seconds before we would know if I got myself a Mewtwo or a Ditto. And I could not believe my eyes. As the Mewtwo was growing and growing and growing inside of the clone machine, it broke the entire machine. The machine was broken, never to be used again. And immediately, I challenged the Mewtwo to a battle. I took no chances whatsoever. I went straight to my bag, went to the Pokeball, and used my one and only Master Ball. The Mewtwo stood no chance. There was nothing it could do. It was mine. And just like that, I captured, potentially, the most powerful Pokemon in the entire world. A Mewtwo. And that was it. That was my biggest objective of this entire series. Completed. The entire Generation 1 Pokedex. As I looked at my Pokedex, I could not be more proud. I have never done this before. Every single Generation 1 Pokemon I had captured. This was a sight to behold. Although it does say I didn't capture Vaporeon, I literally have one in my PC. I think it's because it's from the egg. I hatched an Eevee from an egg and then I evolved it into Vaporeon. And for some reason, it doesn't say that I caught it. But I'm counting it as a catch. But there we go. The infamous Mewtwo. Mewtwo is a Pokemon that was created by genetic manipulation. However, even though the scientific power of humans created this Pokemon's body, they failed to endow Mewtwo with a compassionate heart. That is what you call intimidating. Capturing Mewtwo was easily one of the hardest things that I have ever done in my YouTube career. It was such a long process. Looking back on it, if I hadn't gotten so lucky with the Mew spawning at the vote party, then I'm not sure I ever would have been able to do this. Honestly, I couldn't be more happy. So I decided to take Mewtwo on a tour of the most amazing town in Pokemon history. I think it's safe to say that he wasn't too impressed. I only had 19 rare candies at the time, so I decided to go to Warp Crates and open a ton of Vote Crates. And there we go, I got 3 more, 6 more Ultra Balls, another 3 more rare candies, and a random Pokemon. But there we go, I now have 28 rare candies after voting, and what I decided to do was put all of those on Mewtwo. His moves were pretty trash, and so after I got him level 100, I decided to go to the mart and get him some better TMs. After applying all these moves to Mewtwo, he was now a beast. Now that I had 3 Pokemon I was really happy with and confident in, I decided to go to the Battle Tower. The Battle Tower is an entire tower of trainers that will challenge you in 3v3 battles. So I talked to the dude with the really awesome mustache, but as I was going to challenge it, apparently Mewtwo is literally too good to challenge the Battle Tower. I don't think you're allowed any Uber tier Pokemon. So I tried my luck with Zapdos and it let me. So this was my team. My first matchup was pretty crazy. It was a Salamence against a Dragonite. I tried to risk it for the biscuit and I went for a Dragon Dance. Unfortunately, it didn't work well and the Salamence killed me in 1 hit. It also had Moxie, which means every single time that it kills any Pokemon, its attack gets raised. So I quickly switched into Swampert and went for an Ice Punch, but I died in 1 hit. And so did my Zapdos. One thing I realized is none of my Pokemon had any items on them, and I think that was a big problem. I didn't have the best items back at home, so the only thing I could really do is put a Scope Lens on Zapdos, which increases critical chance. I put a Muscle Band on Swampert, which increases physical damage by 10%, and then I put a Dragon Fang on Dragonite, which increases Dragon-type moves by, I believe, 30%. And now I was ready to challenge the Battle Tower again. This time, I started off with Zapdos because Dragonite really didn't work well, and I kind of want to save Swampert for another Pokemon. Unfortunately, the camera angle for this wasn't too great, but I started off with the Drill Peck, which is super effective against Hariyama, and then somehow he killed me in 1 hit. I was pretty sure the move that he used was an Ice move, which is ×4 effective against Dragonite, but I was really just hoping that Dragonite could kill it in 1 hit. Unfortunately, he switched into Hippowdon, but actually, it worked out pretty well. I continued continued to use Outrage with Dragonite, and it worked incredibly well. Things were looking good. And boom, Outrage killed his last Pokemon, and we beat the first trainer in the Battle Tower. We were then asked if we wanted to continue in the Battle Tower, and of course I did. So the next trainer's first Pokemon was an Emboar, and of course I was going to Drill Peck the Emboar, as it is super effective. And then it killed me in one hit. Again, I'm not sure Zapdos survived a singular turn in any of these battles yet. My next option was to go to Swampert, and I decided to Earthquake. Somehow the Emboar was faster than my Swampert. I didn't realize that would be the case. And then I tried another Earthquake, but somehow Ninetales can learn Solar Beam. So things just weren't really going too great. Again, I thought Ninetales would have to recover from the Solar Beam, but apparently he didn't, so I tried to get a Dragon Dance off, and it just really didn't go well. But fortunately, I did manage to kill it in the end. My last hope was to one-shot this guy with an Outrage, and I did. So Dragonite has honestly carried me so far through these first two trainers, and I was not very optimistic for the next one, but I gave it a shot anyway. And so the first Pokemon that I battled was a Ditto, which obviously transformed into a Zapdos. This was a very awkward battle because the only move that we could use against each other that did any damage was, I thought, Drill Peck, but apparently electric moves affect Zapdos. I did not realize this, so that was pretty awkward. So knowing the moves that the Ditto had, because it was the exact same Pokemon as my Zapdos, I went to Swampert, because electric does not affect Swampert. And I decided to Ice Punch this thing, but of course it goes into a Ferrothorn, because why not? This was a really bad matchup for my team, and I really didn't know what to do. I went for a Hammer Arm, but I didn't expect much. It actually did more than I thought, but I knew that he would have Power Whip and kill me in one hit. Now, once again, it was down to my Dragonite. So I decided to Dragon Dance because I thought it was my only chance at sweeping this guy, but unfortunately, it just was not going my way. I tried an Earthquake, but it just was not enough to take down the Ferrothorn, and unfortunately, he got the best of me. But that round was a little bit better. We actually made it to the third trainer, which I guess I'm sort of proud of. So the last thing I decided to do in my 100 days was go to the Ultra Space Dimension. The way that you do that is you have to have either a Lunala or a Solgaleo. Obviously, I didn't have either of those, but Slippy did. So he threw out his Lunala, and he made a wormhole for me. And so I hopped on my Zapdos and I flew in. As you can see, there's a lot of fog everywhere. Gravity is very, very low, and the biomes are so weird. This area is really, really cool though. There's a lot of really rare Pokemon that spawn here, along with the Ultra Beasts. I don't think any of the Ultra Beasts are obtainable in the overworld. You actually have to be in the Ultra Space Dimension for them to spawn. I couldn't really see much, but I thought that I saw some land, so I decided to take a leap of faith and jump into the abyss. Luckily, as I fell down very slowly, I did land on land, and this was actually a really, really rare shrine. This is a sacred area, a sacred temple, where you can spawn in Giratina. It is incredibly, incredibly hard to get the items needed in order to spawn this in. It's even harder than spawning in Mewtwo. Obviously, I was nowhere near spawning in a Giratina, so I decided to keep moving and keep hopping to different islands. It was actually pretty fun. In the middle of the Ultra Space Dimension, I literally just found a random end dimension structure. I don't know what these things are called, but I figured I'd give it a little exploration. Then I found this really cool biome. I don't even know what blocks these are. I broke one and then it just broke like glass. I checked to see what biome this was, and it's called the Ultra Deep Sea. I set a home here actually called UDS, which stood for Ultra Deep Sea. I had a feeling that there were some Ultra Beast Pokemon that would spawn here. I was exploring this biome for days and days and days and days and days, waiting for something really cool to spawn, but the coolest thing that spawned was an incredibly fat Clefable, so I decided to catch it. I saw in chat a wild Virizion spawned in a Forest Hills biome, and I was pretty excited, but I didn't think that they spawned in the Ultra Space Dimension, so I kind of just went on my way, not really thinking too much of it, until I found a freaking Virizion. This was absolutely insane. Honestly, I had no idea that they spawned in the Ultra Space Dimension. I've been exploring this dimension for so long, waiting for something amazing like this to happen, and it was finally time. I decided to change who I had in my party so that I could tank some more hits from it. I engaged in battle with my Raichu and went straight away for a Thunder Wave so I could paralyze it. This went perfectly. My next move was a Thunder, which I knew wouldn't do too much damage, and I actually missed anyway. So then I went into Machamp and decided to do a wake-up slap. And another one, and another one. And I didn't want to use another wake-up slap because I wasn't sure if I was going to kill it or not, so I just went for some Ultra Balls. I had someone supporting me in my battle, and it was none other than Psycho Michael. And just like that, with a little bit of luck and Psycho Michael's help, we managed to catch ourselves a Verizian. It even had really good IVs. It had perfect HP, perfect defense, perfect speed, and decent attack. So of course, the next thing I did was go into my team to find it. And guys, I have to say, I was really proud of my team. Not only did I have these 6 amazing Pokemon, but I still had an Articuno and a level 100 Dragonite. After a whole 300 days of playing Pixlemon, I think I've come a very long way. We've beaten 2 different gyms. We've completed the entire Generation 1 Pokedex. We've been to the War Zone and caught some Shadow Pokemon. We've challenged the Battle Tower and did decent on it in one of the rounds. We've been to the Ultra Space Dimension and even caught a legendary while we were there. And we even built a really cool house. These past 100 days were probably my favorite because we managed to finally finish some of the original goals we had in the first 100 days. So I'm really proud of myself and where I am now. If you guys enjoyed
Quality writing makes your schoolwork better and helps you stand out in the process. Meet Grammarly, the digital writing assistant that helps students create effective writing that delivers results. Suggestions are provided in real time to help you write clear and mistake-free sentences. Write confidently knowing that Grammarly is there to help you share your perspective, inside the classroom and out. Download today at Grammarly.com.
The reason I love Minecraft so much is its ability to mod the game to add whatever comes to your imagination. Growing up, I always loved to play Pokemon, so when I saw that there was a Minecraft mod called Pixlemon, I instantly fell in love. I've been playing Pixlemon for years now, and I feel like it's finally time for me to do a 100 days challenge. If you guys don't know, Pokemon or Pixelmon is a game where you can catch hundreds and hundreds of different Pokemon. You can train them, you can breed them, you can battle them, all the way up to level 100. That's putting Pokemon in a very small nutshell. There's actually a lot more to it. But anyway, in this video, I will be spending 100 Minecraft days on the Poke Smash server. The server has a ton of amazing features, including 8 gyms, a safari, battle towers, tournaments for real-life money, a war zone where legendary and shiny Pokemon have a high chance of spawning, but if you battle other players in the war zone, the winner gets to steal the loser's Pokemon. It also has a Poke Hunt challenge where you have a limited time to catch a specific Pokemon, and if you do that, you get to claim a pretty awesome reward. There is also a Pokemon Hunger Games minigame that is absolutely epic, amazing custom Pokemon textures, just like this Galaxy Groudon, and there's much more. in these first 100 days, I have 4 specific objectives. The first one is definitely the most challenging and quite nearly impossible, but it is to complete the Generation 1 Pokedex. That means I have to catch 151 Pokemon, including all of the legendary Pokemon. The next challenge is to beat the very first gym on the server, which is a flying type gym. The third objective that I have is to catch a legendary Pokemon. Now, if I do complete the first generation Pokedex, that will inevitably happen, but I at least want to be able to catch 1 legendary. And my final objective is to complete a Poke Hunt. Now, I know that one sounds kind of easy, but I feel like I need one relatively easy objective on this list so that this video isn't a complete fail. These challenges will be incredibly difficult, especially completing Generation 1 and catching a legendary Pokemon. I'm not looking forward to it. But if you guys do want to join me on the server, the IP and a tutorial on how to install Pixelmon will be linked in the description down below. Before this video starts, I would just like to say that this video took me an incredible amount of time to make. So if you guys do enjoy, please do me a favor and leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, let's start our journey. So just like any Pokemon game, Pixelmon forces you to make the most difficult selection of your life to start your adventure. You get to choose any of the starter Pokemon from any of the 8 generations. Now, looking back on it, it probably would have been smartest for me to take a Generation 1 Pokemon, but I have to go with the love of my life, Mudkip. So this is where you spawn on the Poke Smash server, and I actually ran into someone pretty famous to start off my adventure. Yeah, I found Technoblade within about 5 seconds. I thought it would be a good idea to fight the first person I saw and make them my rival, but the problem is, well, Technoblade is pretty good at not only Minecraft, but apparently Pokemon as well. And yeah, he killed me in 1 hit. Sad times. So because my Pokemon died, I went to /warp-heal, and that is the, well, I guess a free way, an easy way to heal your Pokemon. And so now, Mudkip is back up to full health and ready to battle. The first thing that I love to do whenever starting a series on this network is to jump straight down from spawn, because when you do that, you'll come across a bunch of these level 1 Pokemon, which are actually perfect to train your starter with, because your starter is only level 5, and so battling these level 1 Pokemon is relatively easy, and it gives you very good experience. And not too much later, I was able to actually get my Mudkip up to level 16. Which means that he evolves. He evolves into a Marshtomp. Unfortunately, the view of the evolution was pretty blocked by my ginormous legs. I know I'm pretty thick. But nonetheless, I was still pretty excited to get my first evolution on this 100-day challenge. Someone gave me a Team Rocket chest plate, and I was naked this whole time, so I guess I'm joining Team Rocket now. Before we venture out into the wild, a really good thing to do is vote for the server, because if you do that, you actually get vote crate keys, which will allow you to get free Pokeballs, free rare candies, and a bunch of free loot that is really helpful in starting off an adventure. If you do the /warp-crates command, it takes you right to where the crates are, and the vote crate key is right on the left. So in our first crate key, we actually managed to get ourselves a random Pokemon. This was really good for me because it got me a Mudsdale that was level 36, which is a really high level to start off an adventure with. And this is going to allow me to not only eliminate higher level Pokemon, but it's also going to let me catch higher level Pokemon as well, because with this Mudsdale, I will now be able to damage those Pokemon, which will allow me to catch them easier. And then I also got 10 Ultra Balls, which comes in very handy later on in the series. And then I got rare candies, 10 more Ultra Balls, more rare candies, and lastly, I got 10 Timer Balls. Now that we have a level 16 Marshtomp and a 36 Mudsdale, it's time for us to explore the wild. And the first thing I came across was a little tiny cute home, but as I went around back, I noticed that it was on fire. So the first thing I did on my adventure was a pretty good community, just a good thing, I feel like if I were to start off my adventure as a nice guy, good karma will come my way. So the first thing I wanted to do in this adventure was start my house, because it's always nice to, have a home that you can always come back to. But unfortunately, I am extraordinarily picky, and I didn't end up building my house for a while because I really wanted to find, a terrain that I wanted to build on. Oh, and this is actually really rare. So Early on in our adventure, we actually found a grotto which has a Master Ball loot inside. Now, there's random loot scattered around the world of Pixlemon. Some are Pokeballs, some are Ultra Balls, some are Master Balls. But that doesn't mean that they drop that respective Pokeball. They actually drop normally a random held item. And I noticed that there was actually a Weedle right next to me as well, so I decided that it would be a good idea to catch him as he is, you know, a Generation 1 Pokemon, and that is one of my goals, so I figured might as well start early rather than late. For some reason, it did take a really long time to catch him, but in the end, we did manage to catch the level 2 Weedle. And shortly after that, we managed to catch ourselves an Oddish. And then I caught my least favorite Pokemon of all time, a Rattata. Ooh, I found another grotto. Choice specs, let's go. This is what's called an apricorn field. You use apricorns in order to craft Pokeballs. When the apricorn is fully grown, like this one right here, you just right click it and you get a black apricorn. Then you smelt it up and combine it with other smelted colors of apricorns in order to get lids of Pokeballs. Then you also have to craft the bottom of the Pokeball by using iron and also get a button. And after you combine all 3 of them up, you then get a Pokeball. Normally, I don't like catching Zubats because they kind of stink, but with this objective in hand, I'm gonna have to catch every single Pokemon in Generation 1, even if I don't like them. After I caught the Zubat, I had to take a dump, and that took up a couple days. I went back to spawn to check out a few things, and I realized that there's actually a /GTS command. This is where all the players on the server will actually list Pokemon that they have for a certain price. For example, someone is selling this Bagon for $70,000. It does have perfect IVs and a perfect nature though. That's why it's so expensive. Someone is selling a shiny, almost perfect IV Rayquaza for